Coming out, and first want to wrap up the Temple game. As I said after the game, was just very proud of our football team. You know, up until that point, we had a very tough October, but our guys continued to work, they continued to prepare, they continued to fight, and I was just very happy that they were able to be rewarded. You know, sometimes you put in that work and that time, and you come up short. It's okay to be disappointed but not discouraged, and our guys weren't discouraged, and I think that showed last week. You know, with a big win. Again, we were far from perfect. There was a lot of things we could have done better, and when you play a 3-point game like that, you know, if we had not completed a 4th and 9, you could have went back and looked at 4 or 5 or 6 plays in the 4th quarter that we didn't make that might have cost us the game. But fortunately, there was a handful of plays we did make this week that allowed us to win against a very good football team. And I think the challenge now is our guys have done a good job of overcoming some tough losses, and now they've got to deal with a big win. And you know, it was important this week that we get right back to the routine. We made the corrections on Monday, started introducing Kent. We had a good Kent practice yesterday, had a good one today. And you know, we're 3 days away, and we got a lot more work to do. But you know, we're excited to get to Kent and play, you know, and play Kent on the road. They've been a very difficult opponent for us the last 2 years. Last year at our homecoming, they really blew us out in a non-competitive game. I think our only points were a kickoff return. And offensively, they have a lot of the same players that moved the ball on us last year and scored 30 points. So, you know, I think Kent's record's a little misleading. You know, 2 of their losses were to Alabama and Kansas State, who are ranked in the top 10 in the country. You know, their Northern Illinois game is even a little deceptive because, you know, there's a lot of turnovers that game, and really up to a certain point, that was a competitive game, and every other game has been a 1-score game. So, you know, they have good personnel. I have a lot of respect for their head coach. I think Coach Hazel is, you know, I've known him for a number of years, and I just think he's somebody I have a lot of respect for. I think he's a first-class guy that will do things the right way, and I'm sure he took advantage of their bye week, and the team that we see on Saturday, I'm sure is going to be a much improved team.
Go ahead. You sense a difference as far as like focus during practice? I mean, all year long, you can always say, you know, our goal is the MAC championship and everything like that. But now after you guys get over the hump, get that win, you guys in the standings, you guys are right there. Do you sense a difference in practice?
No, because I don't feel we're over the hump. You know, I think, you know, the loss the week before didn't ruin our season, and the win doesn't make your season. It does keep our goals alive. But no way do we feel like we've turned the corner. I mean, we're still, you know, a growing team and a growing program, and we got to make sure that we keep getting better. And the reason I say I don't see the focus different is that we had good focus even when we weren't winning, which I think allowed us to get better. If we didn't have good focus, there's no way we play the way we did last Saturday. And you know, that's where you got to keep reminding them that, you know, that we weren't that bad when we were losing, and we're not that good that we won. Okay, we got to continually get better. You know, we want to relentlessly pursue improvement, and that is really the goal for our program. Is that we want to keep pursuing and make sure we're getting better. Because if you don't get better, you're going the other way. And I don't think we're good enough to show up against anybody and think we're going to win.
You talk about the challenges of playing after a big win as opposed to the tough losses. You know this team better than anybody. If you had to predict it, how do you think this team will respond?
Well, you judge it by practice, and again, our tempo and our pace at practice are good. I mean, we have a goal of getting X number of plays in a certain time frame, and one of the ways I judge our practice is, do we get those plays in? You know, are the guys getting back? Are they getting lined up? Are they getting the next play call? And this week in practice, you know, we've finished most of our team periods early. You know, which tells me that we're working at a good tempo. Now, you know, where is our focus? How locked in are we? I get a much better feeling for that the next 2 days. Kind of Tuesday and Wednesday, you're introducing the game plan, you're trying to get them reps. You tone it back a little bit physically on Thursday, and that's where you really find out where your mental focus is. And last week after Thursday's practice and Friday's walkthrough, I had a very good feeling about the game. Our walkthrough was different. Our meeting the night before was different. I was in with our defense, and they were going through the calls and the adjustments and what plays to expect and how we're going to fit it and who's going to be the free hitter. And it was just, to me, it was beautiful. The guys were on cue, answers, and it was sharp. And that's one of the indicators, is your team ready to play. And very few times is a team like that and locked in and then show up Saturday and not play well. And so certainly the next 48 hours are real important, that we bring that same focus and that same kind of mental being locked in to this game that we did the last 2 weeks.
And Coach, along the same lines, after a stretch of the top teams in the MACs, is this game maybe a trap game? Do you look at it that way?
We're not good enough to. We're not. I mean, it's a good win, but it's over. This is a very dangerous team. I don't feel that we're at a point that we can ever say, hey, we're better across the board. We're not there yet. And if our guys think they are, we're going to be in for a huge disappointment. So, we've certainly conveyed that message. With what's at stake, I trust the leadership of our team is conveying that message. But at the end of the day, you really don't know until Saturday. But, again, to me, the next 48 hours are huge. I think our players look at Tuesday as Wednesday as the big work days physically, and they are. But I look at Thursday and Friday as huge days in terms of the team being locked in and focused on what their jobs and what their assignments are. And to me, that carryover to Saturday is just as important as the Tuesday, Wednesday. So again, we're gonna coach it up until kickoff, and then at that point, it goes in their hands, and you trust that they're ready and locked in. And I believe the last 2 weeks we have been.
And one more, when you look back at last year's game, do the players talk about that, or kind of maybe an embarrassment last year? Do they talk about trying to make up for that?
We don't dwell too much on the past. We always talk about a 1 week season, but by the same token, every time you play an opponent that you played the year before, you do bring up the score, and our players know what happened here last year. I mean, they remember it. And again, it was a non-competitive game. We didn't play well. I think we had less than 150 yards of offense. And at the time, Kent, wasn't playing real well. And against us, they played really well, and we allowed them to do that. So again, our focus is we have to worry about us, and that's regardless of, no matter who we play. And again, I think so far this year's team has done a very good job with that.
Dave, not specific to Kent State or this game, just the idea of the bye week, the advantages in your eyes of having a bye week.
I mean, in this league, it's very tricky. And the reason I say that is that in the MAC, if you get a bye week, you then have a short week because of the weekday football on Thursday. Mm-hmm. So, I've always, as a head coach, loved in the schedule having a bye week somewhere after the 4th to the 6th game. Just because at that point it's been a 2 or 3 month stretch when you include training camp. And I just think mentally your players need a break. And inevitably at this point in the year everybody's banged up, and it allows you to get healthy and get fresh and get energy back, which I'm sure Kent has gotten back last week. The only problem in this league is if you get that bye week, at some point in November, you're going to have to play a game on 4 or 5 days rest. Because once we go to weeknight football, we don't get a true bye week. It's been 9 straight weeks, and then it's 10 days, and then it's 8 days, and then it's 9 days. So we get an extra couple of days for 3 games, which in this league I prefer, because I really, the idea of playing a game on 5 days rest in November, that I think is tough. So given the 2 choices, I like the way our schedule is. But I think in a perfect world, you have a bye week somewhere between week 4 and week 6, and then you also get the extended preparation for the weeknight games. But our calendar doesn't allow that. Between when our first game is and when the MAC championship is, you can't have both.
For Kent's situation, especially offensively, Coach Hazel thinks this is a big advantage and not advantage, it's helpful to his team that they had this break. I mean, how do you view it?
I think no question. It was. I'm sure it was great for them. That they're a new staff. It's a new head coach. It's a new offensive system, and I'm sure that the bye week not only allowed them to rest their players and get guys healthy, but it probably allowed them as a staff to look at their first 7 games and say, okay, this is what we're doing well. This is who's playing well. Let's kind of regroup, take a deep breath, and let's set out the plan for the rest of the season. And, they've moved guys around personnel-wise. They've moved tackles to guards, guards to tackles, number 2s to number 1s. I'm sure he did something to get their attention last week that nobody's job is safe. And, I think usually, that results in a more inspired and a better effort the next week. So, I'm sure we're going to get their very best. And I'm sure it's a lot of the same players from last year. I'm sure they're going to be confident going into this game.
You guys got anything else? All right. Thanks,
All right,
Coach.
thank you.